David, let's start with the Bears. They're coming off their bye week, 2-2 so far this season. Obviously, big hire with Ben Johnson in the offseason. Up to this point, first month of the season, first 4 games, if you had to give Ben Johnson a grade for the Bears' performance up to this point, what would you give him?
I think probably a solid B minus maybe. There are high expectations. He is the most qualified Bears coach to take the job since Lovie Smith, and I think there were a lot thought that he would change immediately the offense and see the quick results. It's taken a little bit of time. He has had some moments, I think, that you realize that maybe it's one of those things where being a coordinator and being a head coach is a little bit different. But I like the way that he has responded. I like the way that he won the last couple of games. And I've always thought that Ben Johnson is an exceptional communicator. And I liked his offenses in Detroit. He started to make those adjustments here. He's got a little bit to learn and a long way to go to be, an A+ head coach, one of the top tier guys. But I think in the first month of the season, he's really represented himself well, and the Bears fans can be encouraged by what they've seen. Tonight, frankly, is a big one for Ben Johnson because coming off the bye week, that's when you tend to see your best evidence of coaching.
No doubt, and it's also a big game, David, because as you know, the Bears are going back to the scene of the crime where their season really unraveled on them last year with the Hail Mary, and then they went on that big losing streak. I'm curious, leading up to the game this week, any players, any coaches that were on the team from last year, did they talk about this being a revenge game, looking forward to going back and maybe making, some wrongs, some rights, any of those kind of things leading into this game?
Collectively, the players would like not to discuss it and really didn't welcome that opportunity. The coaching staff is brand new, so Ben Johnson essentially had that as a crutch to say, you know what, I wasn't here, neither was the majority of the coaches. That was last year's team. But I'll say this, Tyreek Stevenson, who was the villain in that drama, who was the guy that was waving to the crowd and taunting Commander fans. I think that was a bit of a surprise how open he embraced everything that came with talking about what happened, what he learned from what happened, and how he grew from what happened. So I've been impressed by Tyreek Stevenson this year. It's a small sample size. It's only 4 games. But I came into the season wondering maybe why he was still here. Now he's their best quarterback, and he's had some good big games. I think tonight he feels the pressure, but I think tonight he has shown he's able to, step up and handle that pressure and maybe even have one of his better games. I can guarantee you one thing. History will not repeat itself because Noah Brown, who caught that faded pass, is on the out list. He is injured. He won't play. So there will be no happy ending for Noah Brown, and Tyreek Stevenson will have to taunt somebody else. But I think he's trying to put it behind him, and he's done a really nice job of sounding like he's grown up and he's a real pro now.
David, you mentioned Stevenson and that defense. As you know, they've been really beaten up to start the season, but out of the bye week, they should be a little bit healthier, starting to get some guys back. What can you tell us about the injury report for the Bears defense, some guys that maybe we should see back in the game tonight, and maybe some guys we're waiting to see closer to kickoff if they're going to play?
2 key guys are Kyler Gordon and TJ Edwards. Kyler Gordon will make a difference against the run game because the Commanders are the best rushing team in the NFL. And Kyler Gordon, as a slot nickel, he likes to play close to the line of scrimmage. I wouldn't be surprised if Jaquan Brisker plays a little bit tighter in the box more often against this good running game. TJ Edwards, though, is the big one. He will play linebacker. He will return. He tried coming back in the Lions game. He re-injured himself. If he can play 4 quarters, he is a tackle machine, and he will make everyone in front of him and beside him better. Grady Jarrett is the big loss. He is out for tonight's game. Second game in a row, he will not play. That, to me, is becoming a problem because of how much the Bears invested in the offseason and how much he helps against the run and rushing the passer up the middle. So it's a big night for Javon Dexter. It's a big night for Andrew Billings. And I do think this. Montez Sweat has got to start being the multiplier again. The Tez effect, as they call it in Chicago, has been negligible. It's not even registered. He's got 1 sack in 4 games. You're making his salary is the 11th highest defensive player in the NFL. It's time to start earning your dough. Montez Sweat and also Odayo Odeyingbo, the former Colt, he has not flashed as much as he needs to. If those guys play well, if they get some push up the middle, they can stop the run, but it's a tall task. I'm not optimistic about how the Bears defense is going to play tonight.
Yeah, Montez Sweat facing his former team tonight going up against the Commanders. We're talking Commanders-Bears with David Haugh, co-host of Mully and Haugh on 670 The Score in Chicago. Offensive side of the ball, David, we got a high total tonight, 49.5 on BetMGM, so we should see some points in this game. I found it interesting, though, on BetMGM, if you look at all the prices for any of the Bears to score a touchdown tonight, it's all plus money. Swift is plus 120. Rome is plus 140. DJ Moore plus 200. You go down the line. So I'll just ask you, if you had to pick one person on the Bears tonight to find the end zone, who would be the guy that you think does that?
You know, it really is difficult because of how they spread the ball around and how maybe they haven't had one player emerge. Actually, I might say Rome Odunze because he is the guy that Caleb Williams tends to have the best chemistry with. DeAndre Swift, I think, will get the most touches just by default because the second running back really hasn't emerged. The Bears have their own offensive line issues. They have Theo Benedict, first-time starter at left tackle, and you have Darnell Wright, who missed a lot of practice time through the bye week with an injury, but he is now cleared. If he can't go, Ozzie Trapillo, the rookie from Boston College, second rounder, will go in place of him. That's an offensive line that has underperformed. Caleb Williams has been accurate, he's been efficient, and he has shown the clutch gene. He also has experience in this stadium taking the Bears back in the fourth quarter. So I think there's positive signs for the skill position players. The offensive line needs to play better. But the fact that there's so many different ways you could go in terms of a touchdown score, in terms of a breakout game, to me it reflects how little anybody has really seized the opportunity to be the number one guy. And part of that also, Colston Loveland being out and being unavailable has hurt the offense from really getting rolling.
David, before we let you go, what's your prediction for tonight's game? You see the Bears coming away with an upset tonight in Washington, or do you think the Commanders get the win?
I really think the Commanders are a good team that came back from the West Coast, having beaten the Chargers, who I really have been impressed with. That's not easy to do, to go on the road and do that. Jaden Daniels is still, until proven otherwise, the top of the 2024 draft class. Caleb Williams needs to close that gap. But tonight, I just think the Bears are going to have too hard a time stopping the running game. I think they'll run their offense. They'll score some points. But I've got a higher scoring game. Commanders 31, Bears 24.
There you go. David Haugh, check him out. Mully and Haugh, 670 The Score in Chicago, and give him a follow on X at David Haugh. David, really appreciate the time. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll talk to you again soon.
Keep up the great work anytime.
All right, thanks a lot. David Haugh joining us here on Send It In. All right, guys, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to run through both Monday Night Football games. We're going to get to both MLB games tonight. And then I got a bunch of games coming up, college football and the NFL, that I like that we'll get into. So as always, any questions, comments that you guys have, love to hear from you. Any plays that you have, and let's make some money on this Monday. All right, let's start with the Bills and the Falcons. We just talked Bears Commanders. We'll get into that game in a little bit. But the first game up tonight, Buffalo favored by 4. Total in the game is 50. You want to just take the Bills on the money line, minus 210. If you like the Falcons to pull the upset, that is plus 170. The line in this game feels about right. And Atlanta, I think, is one of these teams. To me, this game feels a lot like the Georgia-Auburn game from Saturday, where you look at this line just like you looked at that game, and Auburn was coming off a bye. They're at home. Atlanta's coming off a bye. They're at home. But Auburn just doesn't win those kind of games, right? And they were up early. They had all the momentum, and then they fumbled, and the game completely slipped away from them. It feels like it's going to be the same for the Falcons tonight. Like, I could see them getting off to a good start. Maybe it looks like they're going to win the game, but just Josh Allen and the Bills find a way to win it. I don't want to lay 4 with Buffalo. I think they're a good money line parlay piece tonight. I think if you want to tease up Atlanta too to plus 10, I think that is also a good option. I would feel better, though, probably about the Bills covering or just winning the game than I would about Atlanta covering the 10, even though I like both bets. But with the Falcons, they don't win these kind of games. Now, can they cover? Absolutely. Would I pick them to win? Would I pick them to win the game outright, pull the upset? I would not. But I really wouldn't want to lay 4 with Buffalo because I do think it's going to be a close game. And again, like how good are the Bills? I mean, they should have lost to the Ravens week 1. They lost to the Patriots last week, and then they've played the Jets, they played the Saints, they played the Dolphins. I mean, we really haven't seen them against anybody. So we're kind of still waiting to figure out what this Bills team is, which is why I don't really love the game. but I do think they are going to win just because it's really more of a fate of Atlanta, and I just don't trust them in these kind of spots. Couple of props that I do like in this game. Atlanta, they're bottom 10 in yards per carry, and I'm looking at James Cook longest rush over 15.5 yards. The Bills got away from running the ball with James Cook a little bit against the Patriots. They turned the ball over 3 times. I think they're going to feature him in this game a little bit. So James Cook, longest rush over 15.5 yards. I think he breaks one for at least 20 tonight. I'll look at that. And then Michael Penix over 31.5 pass attempts tonight for Atlanta as well. Falcons are 2-2 on the season. In their 2 wins, Penix has had 21 and 26 pass attempts. In their 2 losses, he has had 36 and 42 pass attempts, right? So it's clear, when Atlanta wins, when they're playing well, they're running the ball and Bijan is getting rolling. When they lose, they got to throw, and Penix is throwing more than they would like to. So if you like the Bills to win, should correlate to Penix over pass attempts. As for the Bears and the Commanders tonight, Washington a 5.5-point favorite. The total in the game, 49.5. Commanders minus 250 on the money line, and Buffalo is plus 200. This is a tricky game. Washington was 4.5 for most of the week. Yesterday, the spread went up to 5.5 now. Total sitting there, 49.5, as I mentioned. I would probably lean towards Washington in the game. I wanted to be on the Bears. You know, they're coming off a bye. They're going on the road. You tend to like teams more off a bye going on the road. I just think about the Bears, and yeah, they're 2-2. They beaten Dallas, and they beaten the Raiders. I just still don't really think they're very good. And as David mentioned, you know, they're having some guys coming back from injury. I just think Washington at home, prime time. I think Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, like, these are the kind of games where they tend to win and tend to cover as well. I really do like a money line parlay tonight between the 2 favorites, Bills and Commanders. I like that at plus 106. That would probably be my favorite play. I do think both favorites win tonight. Whether they cover the spread, obviously a different story. I don't really love either spread. I'd rather just parlay both teams on the money line. What I do like, though, in this game is a first quarter over between the Bears and the Commanders. You can get it at 9.5 on BetMGM, minus 130. Ben Johnson's scripted stuff is as good as it gets in the NFL. His first 10, 15 plays, you combine that with the fact he's coming off a bye week. I think Chicago scores on their first possession. I also think Washington scores on their first possession. We just need 7-3, 7-7, whatever it may be, over 9.5 first quarter points, but I like that bet in the game. I also like Jaden Daniels over 8.5 rushing attempts in this game at plus 100. Last year, Jaden Daniels played in 2 primetime games on Sunday night, Monday Night Football. He had 12 and 16 carries in those games. So the bright lights, big game in the regular season, Jaden tends to take off and use his legs. And again, with the loss of Grady Jarrett, should be an advantage tonight for Washington on the ground, so I would look at that. And then Caleb Williams, anytime touchdown for him is plus 350. Can shop around. There are like some plus 380s out there. I think that price is way too high for Caleb, who's a good athlete. He has been running a little bit this season, and you don't think he wants to, play well tonight, knowing the other guy on the sideline, knowing the guy who was in his draft class. So Caleb Williams, rushing touchdown, plus 350. I think that's a nice play. So I'll bet his anytime touchdown. Jaden Daniels over 8.5 rushing yards, and I like that first quarter over 9.5 between the Bears and Commanders as well.